Hi, this is Shira Rubinoff. Welcome to Insights in Tech. I'm here with Kevin Harrington. Kevin, pleasure to see you again. Really on video, but pleasure to see you again.
You bet.
Kevin, could you just share with our audience some of the highlights of your fantastic career, of what you've done and what you're currently doing?
Okay, I'll take a minute to just go way back.
Yeah.
I was an entrepreneur, one of six kids in an entrepreneurial family, and I started business in high school and then in college, and dropped out of college to start the infomercial as seen on TV business. And so I saw some downtime on some television networks, went down and talked to the TV stations, and I said, hey, what if I give you products? Some stations went dark at midnight or 3 a.m. So I started buying up all that late night TV time. And this was back in the early 80s, sort of the birth of the infomercial industry and As Seen on TV. So I owned As Seen on TV Inc., AsSeenOnTV.com. We were doing Tony Little Fitness, Jack LaLanne and the Juicer, Billy Mays, George Foreman, and the Jenners and the Kardashians, the Hiltons. I've worked with many, many people. 50 Cent, we launched his headphones, right? And so I'm a product guy. Then I got a phone call from Mark Burnett, and I'll never forget when he said, hey, would you like to be on Shark Tank? And I'm like, this is before it ever existed. So I'm like, Mark, I know you do crazy things to people on that Survivor show. What would you do to me on Shark Tank? What is Shark Tank? Oh, no, it's a business show. So, yeah, I mean, people come out and pitch and the sharks invest. And that's what I've been doing for 38 years now. So had a lot of fun doing it.
Quite an impact you've made in our business world, certainly. And I've followed all that all this time. I now know, and I've known for a while, that you were behind all this. So congratulations for all your achievements thus far.
Thank you.
So Kevin, we'll jump right into the business aspect of COVID-19. You talk a lot about how businesses can dig themselves out of holes and how entrepreneurs can shine through any type of walk of life during business. And as COVID-19, as we've all seen, has taken down some businesses, people losing their jobs, trying to figure out how to start again or launching businesses, what pointers can you give to entrepreneurs who maybe have lost a very high-ranking position within a company, are looking for work, but actually thinking about starting up something themselves, but may need some great tips on how to just get going?
So there's so many things that you just mentioned. I could talk for quite a while, but I mean, look, when COVID first hit, I owned a lot of positions in stocks, and I was way down. I mean, I was devastated. And fortunately, that only lasted in my mind for about 24 hours.
I love that.
When I first got that, you're going to be quarantined, right? Maybe a couple days. But what I've said to myself is I need to focus on what I do best and what I've done best and how I can bring some things to the forefront. So, for example, I mean, just recently, retail stores have been closing. Sports Authority and Brooks Brothers and going bankrupt. Sears and Kmart, and recently Pier 1 Imports. Now, people are out buying up these assets because there's value there. Because for example, a Pier 1 Imports has tremendous value of people coming to the website, but they did not go after this during COVID and even before. E-commerce was the play that they should have been going after. So I say get back to the basics. And for me, it was getting back to building up our e-commerce assets and making sure we're mobily optimized. And now we looked at what was happening in the market. And guess what? With people that were unemployed and COVID hitting, there was far more people at home doing a couple things. Number one, searching on their computer. Number two, watching television. So now viewership levels were huge. But the advertisers were dropping like crazy because the restaurants were closed and the concerts weren't happening. And so advertisers dropped, viewership is up. This was a tremendous opportunity for people to focus on customer acquisition. And that's what we did. We took one of our companies, we went from an $18 customer acquisition cost to a $5 customer acquisition cost during the height of COVID because we were able to capitalize on these situations. So a downturn doesn't necessarily mean everybody's downturning, right? And so I had people are staying at home. They're not out buying as many new homes as they are maybe fixing up their existing homes. So I went back to some old product partners, and we had a product called the Magic Saw and the Magic Wrench and the hammer and tools. So
I think I remember some of that.
yeah, what do you think, right? So tools are going to work. It's do it yourself, tools, housewares, certain categories to focus on. And by the way, we had a lot of experience in a lot of these categories. So I think it's all about getting your priorities organized. But at the end of the day, there are tremendous opportunities to people to launch and open their own business in the world of online selling and creating brands and partnering with people, et cetera, et cetera. So it doesn't have to be a downtime. If you're smart, you can actually make COVID a good time for you if you focus on some of the basics and some of your core skills.
You know, I love what you say about getting back to the basics. In one of my episodes, I talked in the security space around cybersecurity and security itself. And the biggest pointer was get back to the basics. Right from the beginning, where do you have to tighten up security? But certainly, as you're saying, in the business world, when it deals with entrepreneurship, when it deals with business continuity, when it deals even with the future of work, when it comes to businesses or how people have to ebb and flow within their career to find and capture those opportunities, it's all back to the basics. That's a great point you're making.
Yeah, and some people are just afraid. They're like putting their head in the sand. Like, I'm just going to wait this out. But wait, you can be getting customers at the lowest price ever. I mean, I know. I mean, you take a look at the Carl Deichler, who started Beachbody. He's created amazing number of videos, and now he's giving away his whole library free of charge. And there's upsells and continuities and other things on the back end. But this is what Carl said. This is a time for us to get back to the basics and go get customer acquisition in unbelievable volumes because the cost to acquire dropped considerably.
No, very true. And certainly as people are trying to wonder where to go next, how do I get through this time of COVID-19 where businesses are cutting high percentages of their workforce and people don't really know what to expect next? Where do you see even small businesses or these types of businesses that you advise or entrepreneurs that you advise, how do you think the future of work will look for them in the next, let's say, 2 years?
So I think there's going to be a tremendous movement, obviously, towards working from home and virtual. And again, this opens up automatically. I'm thinking of a whole lot of products. I mean, celebrities that were selling fashion are now selling work from home fashion, right? So, I mean, there's things about networking around the house and internet products and things to give you more quiet around the home and things. There's just a lot of opportunities in the world of now people are going to be working virtually. I know some of the big guys, I think it was Amazon, I believe, that said, hey, look, we're just, we're going to take a huge percentage of the corporate workforce and move them towards the home. So I think things are going to change there, but it still it still allows opportunities for those that are entrepreneurs and seeing the trends and seeing things that are happening. So it's cool to see entrepreneurs find the problem and then solve that problem and then make money solving the problem.
Exactly. I was actually going to go to that, in the next little question really was in, let's say, the cybersecurity, the security world itself. When do organizations buy things? When you find their pay point, there's a nice to have, a good to have, a need to have. And when it gets to the level of need to have, that's where the buying happens. And similarly, as you're saying, when you find the niche within the businesses or within people's need of something where they're trying to find something actually to attach themselves to or make sense for them to do, or they need to fill their time, as you said, do-it-yourself things or do-it-yourself organizations, companies, and reaching out and networking to maybe find great collaboration within the space is, I agree with you, should drive business forward.
Yeah, I mean, for example, with more people working at home, maybe there's more people that need virtual assistants, for example, right? So if you're in that business, now's the time to go be going out and go get some new customers and focus on that. So there's a lot. I mean, and the PPE space, the personal protection space, it's just every single day. I mean, I get 150 pitches a week, by the way.
That's it.
So in every category, and it's we just it, our deal flow, that's like triple what it was before COVID. So it's there's more things out there. There's more people needing help. One of the things I say is go reach out to your mentors. And so I've been a mentor to folks for many, many years, and I have a new book that I'm coming out with. I know that you've heard about it. It's called Mentor to Millions, and it's all about how do you get a mentor and how can you be the best student to the mentor that you've got and utilize the strength of that. And the bottom line is, when COVID first hit, I have mentors in my life. I reached out to a few, but I got a lot of phone calls myself. And this is in a time of crisis. People need help. They seek their mentors, and that is what can be very, very powerful in seeking help.
Well, your book sounds very timely and very appropriate for this time, certainly. And there's always been the talk about having proper mentor within your life, somebody you could trust, somebody you could talk to, somebody who could be your advocate. But mentoring others also is a way you rise as you lift as you rise, and you're giving back. And that in turn, helps yourself too, but helps the community. So another quick question over here would be, as businesses or people are trying to find their next big thing or trying to stand out from the crowds or finding that niche of a need to have, what would you say, let's say, to a very crowded space, but it is an important space, how could someone stand out for it or from it in a way that would give eyes to them more than others if they were competing for the same type of view time?
So one of the things I think that is very powerful for us as entrepreneurs today versus like 40 years ago when I was a young entrepreneur, or when I first started, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have social media. We didn't have Facebook and Instagram. Basically I was out knocking on doors. My first business, I was 15 years old, knocking on doors. You don't have to do that today, right? I mean, there are
people would find it very bizarre if someone showed up at their door.
They still do that, but
so bizarre,
it's knocking on doors is in today's world. This is buying ads on Facebook. I mean, you could buy $5 ads on Facebook or Instagram and generate who knows what comes from it. But if it's lead generation or sales, you start small. I say test before you invest. And get a little track record going and then ramp it up. So these are things that if you're out there in the marketplace, in a crowded space, you need to rise up. You need to build your brand. You need to position yourself as what I call a key person of influence in your industry. So you should be doing podcasts. You should be writing books. You should be creating content. You should be shooting videos. You should be, I can keep going. Okay. So, I mean, I have a content playbook that I put out, and I've got about 15 different steps in that process, but it all starts with some of the things that I just started talking about. And also another thing to do, collaborate, for example. Okay. What are we doing right now? We're collaborating, and you can collaborate with a lot of people that have a lot of influence, and this gives you more influence. One point in mind here, Zig Ziglar was a mentor to me a number of years ago, and he passed away about 8 years ago, but he has nearly 5 million followers on Facebook since he passed. And he didn't have any of that while he was alive. This was after he passed. The family put a Facebook page up for a tribute. But I think it's 4.9 million followers on Facebook. And now I partnered with the Ziglar family to take some of his content and add me to the content. So we're releasing books and old videos and creating new modernized video formats and digitizing it and re-releasing all of Zig's content. And now that's in a co-branding with myself and Zig Ziglar. So it's amazing what can come from, and we're also facing this into the 5 million people on Facebook. So here is a collaboration that is helping me brand with Zig Ziglar into 5 million folks. And these are little things that you could be doing along the way to help position yourself as a key person of influence in your industry.
I love those points. I think obviously they're spot on. And collaboration has always been a key for any industry. And I think you highlighted the points, certainly in this kind of space and time that we're living in. So thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with our audience. And is there any other key points or any points you'd like to make before we say our farewells.
I belong to a number of mentoring organizations, Joe Polish's Genius Group and the War Room from Roland Frazier and Board of Advisors from Mike Calhoun. And I'll be at a Board of Advisors meeting this week, but these are mentors that I have in my life. People need mentors. And I just want to say, thanks for having me. And it's been a pleasure to be here and share some of my thoughts with you, Sheila. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Kevin.